Accessibility by Amanda Hill
and Maddie Vansell.
Accessibility refers to the opportunities that students have to be successful in their education. The goal is to create systems that allow every student to have access to an equal education. In this presentation, we focused on the ways in which different types of technology give students access to schools and education.
Students have different options and opportunities for what type of school they attend. Depending on what type of school they go to, they will have access to different systems and programs. We explore what kind of edtech and opportunities students experience in each. Homeschooled students benefit from having one-on-one attention from a parent or guardian that is providing their schooling. They have access to whatever kinds of tech and appliances their family has to work with. This form of education is at a disadvantage in that they do not have access to the diversity of classes and programs in other types of schools. Students may miss out on different edtech opportunities if their families cannot afford it. Due to the lack of excess tuition revenue being brought in yearly, public schools usually lack an array of technologically advanced programs. Students born into wealth are obviously at an advantage. They have the money to support advanced edtech, which will create more opportunities. However, it is in the equality of the public school system that students can find the accessibility to the knowledge they seek. It is in the diversity of the student body and the legally qualified teachers and curriculum that public school students succeed and surpass other types of education. Oftentimes, students that attend private schools will have access to a wider range of edtech and other types of education. Because students pay for the services being provided, there is more money to purchase higher quality and up-to-date digital devices. Another result of the flow of income is smaller classes and in turn teachers who can work more personally with students.
Economics play a major role in accessibility in education. The debate of accessibility primarily revolves around how to make education equitable, regardless of socioeconomic class. Our focus is around how to get the same edtech opportunities into rural and impoverished schools as they have in suburban and wealthy schools. Dr. Sugata Mitra is a former computer scientist and current education reformer who is working on giving children in impoverished areas access to technology for their education. His project started with the hole in the wall in New Delhi, India. He put a single monitor with educational games on it in one of the slums in New Delhi. He found that children would come to the monitor every day and were actually showing off to each other and learning from the game on the monitor. He applied this model to schools all over the world where children were living with limited resources and saw incredible educational gains. This is a good model for how to make education and tech accessible and equitable for students regardless of their economic situation. Even in this day and age, there are still children living without a computer or internet access at home. Students who don't have these resources do not have the opportunity to be as academically successful as their peers do. These students are forced to instead spend large amounts of time during lunch or before or after school to complete their assignments. Statistics show that African American Latino students are less likely to have a computer or internet access at home. This is important to consider when looking at lower attainment of inner-city schools that may be comprised more of these groups, as they will have less opportunities to be as successful, as they don't necessarily have all the tools they need to work with at home. One way to bridge the digital divide is to have students bring their own devices from home to the classroom. Districts that are struggling can have students bring in their own phone, tablet, etc., and have them use that in class for activities. In cities in which this idea is already being implemented, the teachers get training on how to run a bring-your-own-device classroom and how to use many different kinds of devices so they don't run into issues. Some concerns about this concept are that students will use these devices for non-educational purposes, and there will be issues of inappropriate internet use or cyberbullying. The bring-your-own-device technique has sparked a new kind of debate surrounding flipped classrooms. This type of classroom entails the teacher recording material for students to review for their homework. Then students come to class to work on homework problems, thus doing their highest level thinking and learning with the teacher there. This is where the student's device is an integral part of their education because they use it to receive the lesson.
The most basic factor in the accessibility of education is the physical aspect of having the opportunity to be in a classroom setting. Transportation is technology, and technology creates opportunity. For people that live far distances from any school, it is much harder to actually be present for their education, and therefore they are at a complete disadvantage. Every student has a different style of learning that will lead them down a path of educational success. Kids with disabilities cannot learn in the same way that kids do not have disabilities do. Because of this, they are more needy in the fact that they have to use different types of technology in order to support their different way of learning. The whole point of using technology to help kids with learning disabilities is to reassure their confidence in themselves and their ability to learn so they can become independent learners. There are many options for students with disabilities, such as audiobooks and remedial reading software. Teachers need to be aware of the fact that not all kids' brains work the same, and in such cases, access to these sorts of assisting programs is necessary. Many times, disabled students do not have access to an education or extracurricular activities that can lead them down a path to success. Programs like Schools Partnership Program can change things around for disabled kids by offering sponsored events such as Special Olympic Games. These sorts of programs make sure that kids are being supported in the areas that they require and capitalize on their strengths in order to reassure self-confidence, all while encouraging acceptance and respect from the community in regards to kids with disabilities. There are multiple types of learners in the world, and no two brains work exactly the same. Howard Gardner of Harvard University is renowned for producing a list of different learners, including visual, kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, linguistic, and mathematical learners. Each has different strengths and weaknesses, and teachers must take this into account in order to allow students access to functional education. Lesson plans that include activities, not just for students who learn via lecture, are a necessity for a successful learning trend.
We have been looking at all of the ways that access to edtech can create an equitable education for all students. Our main focuses included social, economic, and learning style issues and the ways that edtech is part of these. In this day and age of technology, it is important to investigate how we can use these resources to change our education system for the better. And these are our sources. The end.